Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back with myteenlifecoach.com. That's right, the one and only teen coach helping teens and their parents all over the place. Liezel Lane, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm really good today. Thank you, Jill.
Please introduce yourself to our listeners again.
Of course. My name is Liezel Lane, and I am a professional teen resilience coach and the founder of myteenlifecoach.com. And here we use evidence-based strategies to help our teenagers today to thrive, not just to survive. And we do that by really building a close, warm relationship with our clients and use structured, pro-social, tailored strategies like help them get ahead.
And by the way, as we continue the conversation, we're going to open up the phone lines in just a minute. 631-317-1291. If you have any questions, 631-317-1291 as Liezel continues the conversation. So tell us about what you do. Where did you want to start for today? I ask you that.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Jill. You know what I thought I would do today? I know last week we did kind of just a general introduction into how I got into the business and all of that kind of thing. And I thought maybe today we can talk about like what is being a teen. I think that's kind of a cool way to start. Yeah,
I agree. What is like to be a teen these days? I don't remember. It's been so long.
Right. So when I first started working with the youth, as I told you last week, I was definitely a corporate person. I was never planning to work with youth, even though I had 3 incredible kids of my own. But I realized that the type of work I want to do needed to be life-changing. And I just got burned out in corporate doing that. And I think I remember telling you how I combined my dancing career along with my industrial psychology career. So when I started to work with these kiddos in my nonprofit, I really started to become very passionate about how does the teen brain work? Because when I grew up, there wasn't that much. The knowledge and the research was there, but we didn't have the internet. We didn't have those kinds of things. So you had to go to encyclopedias or libraries or speak to professors to find out what it was like to be a teen or parent a teen. And nowadays, we've got all of this information at hand. So I've kind of put it in a nutshell for us today.
Correct.
So I think maybe to start, and interrupt me if somebody calls in.
Absolutely.
But I want us to think about, your 7-year-old, for example.
Good memory. Yep. 7 and 5. Yep.
Yeah. And, what is his name? Do you remember?
Austin is the 7-year-old, okay. And Jackson's the 5-year-old. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So Austin and both Jackson, they were born with their amygdala part of their brain completely developed already. And that part of the brain is totally 100% responsible for our survival. So that means like when I'm hungry, I cry. When I'm scared, I scream.
Yeah.
It's all about that flight, fright, and freeze kind of thing to protect us. That's what we're supposed to do when we're just born, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But as they grow up and they've done these CAT scans of brains, they have seen that as we grow and evolve and mature, our frontal cortex starts to get more brain activity, not so much what I call the lizard brain when I'm talking to my clients. Like lizards are just there to survive and like flee and run and catch and so forth. But our frontal cortex, that's only developed fully between our 20s and our 30s.
Oh, wow.
So if you think about how long it takes for us as human beings to develop our regulation of our thinking, our problem solving, how we think before we act. So, when parents are going, "What were you thinking?" to a 13-year-old, well, yeah, they're not.
That's how they think. Yeah.
They're just still thinking in terms of, I'm hungry, when's dinner, when can I go play? They are very much still in that every here and now, very impulsive, not proactively thinking things out. So when we're in our 20s and 30s, we start to, think more reasonably and be proactive around how we're doing, what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, etc. And so, I have a wonderful client mom who texts me like once every 2 weeks, like, I'm going to kill this kid, and I'm like, no, just chill. We're in finals. That
The stress
impulsive,
of that.
yeah, we're in that impulsive, over reasoned behavior is totally normal when you're like 13 to 21 years old. So, um, a lot of adults, and I should say parents, we see them grow up, and you'll see Austin, he'll grow up, he's going to start to get hair under his arms, he's going to start to have these little muscles, and his voice is going to drop, and you're going to think, oh my gosh, he is like a little mini adult, mini man,
Yes.
but he's not. They look like adults. I have a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old daughter, and they are taller than me. They're gorgeous. When they've got their makeup on, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want these kids to walk down the street. I don't want people staring at them, but they do. They look like adults, but we have to remember they are not adults. That executive functioning part is really still trying to develop, and that comes out when they're under stress and when they want to try to find themselves. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I find myself really, like, when I'm coaching a teen, I'm also coaching the parents. I feel like we become
of course.
So yeah, that's the start of it. You want me to go on?
Yeah, can I ask you one quick question about, for example, a teen? Okay, my son is 7. He's normal. My nephew, not to say he's abnormal, but he's on the spectrum, right? So he's going through puberty right now. And he's got the hair, he's got the urge, he has the questions, and he looks like, it's just bizarre. It's hard to handle and deal with because he's also a little inappropriate, doesn't know when not to bring it up, and talks to his aunt about sex all the time, and I guide him right back to his parents, and his parents are fine with it, but he has questions and he's curious. He wants to touch and feel, and I try to teach him boundaries. But as a teen life coach, have you worked with adolescents maybe that are a little maybe on the spectrum, or I don't know how to say it the proper way, different?
Yeah. And so, I have a personal theory that we're all on the spectrum in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yes, we do have kids who have been born into this world as sensitives, or they have a higher functioning brain, but more sensory from they're sensitive to their surroundings. I had the absolute privilege of coaching a young lady. She's now 21. She's an autistic young lady, and she was one of my ballet students, actually. So I had the opportunity to work with her as a teen going into young adult, and then as a performer as well. And I mean, brilliant young lady. And the same things apply. But the boundaries just need to be thicker, and it just depends on each kid. So when you talk about on the spectrum, and my little theory about we're all on the spectrum somewhere, some of us are more sensitive than others. Some of us, are more cerebral. Some of us are more sensory. Yeah. I have a colleague who works with somatic teens who just everything they feel like manifests in their bodies, so boundaries is a big deal. And here is where some conflict can happen when teens are trying to test out those boundaries. So for example, you said your nephew, right?
Yes.
So this young lady that I worked with for so many years, she also went into that stage. She was obsessed with ladies with bellies. So whether you were pregnant or not, you had a belly.
He's obsessed with bellies.
Right.
And he loves his mom's belly. And he's just belly is what gets him excited. And that's normal, but it's just different hard to express.
Yes. And so for her, it was then going up to everybody and going, oh, you're pregnant, when's your baby? And I'm like, nope, I just have a belly because I had 3 babies,
Yep.
So it's just there's a boundary there. And this is where okay, so how do I word this? A parent grows up with the child creating those boundaries. So you're like in the parenting phase where you direct the boundaries.
Okay.
When they become teenagers,
Oh,
their boundaries start to play a role. And so in their development, what they're doing is they're starting to test and work with what's my perception of the world. How do I feel about what I've been taught
yeah.
versus what I believe and what my values are. And so they will push and pull, just like when they were toddlers, testing those boundaries. They're doing the same thing as teenagers, except when they're teenagers now, with that reasoning starting to play, starting to practice itself in their brains. I like to encourage parents to respect their boundaries and to listen to their boundaries. However, you're still a guide, you're still a coach in many ways in terms of how to help them practice the executive functioning and be safe to themselves and to other people as well. So they still need help with
Yeah.
reasoning all of that, but now it becomes a negotiated boundary. Like, I just got back from a final, mom, and I need a nap. But the rule
Mm-hmm.
before was no naps, homework first, then. It doesn't work like that with teenagers. So you have to let them express what their needs are, to assert and advocate for themselves, but then also remind them of what is safe, what is good, what's healthy for you, what isn't. And that's kind of negotiating with that impulsive part of the brain.
Yeah.
So I always say that if I could do it over again, even though I would do everything all the same, but I wish I knew more about the teen brain before I became a teen mom, a mom of teenagers.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's like, yeah, they're going to question things. Teenagers are arguing all the time. Why must I do that? I don't have to do that. Why these chores? I just want to go. I just had finals. I just want to go have fun now. Why do I have to stay and clean my room? All of that kind of thing. But that is their high stress increases their reactivity. Same thing with your nephew. When he's in a highly sensitive environment or there's a lot of noise and sound and stuff like that, his high stress reactivity is going to start to react.
Oh, yeah.
And because he's a teenager, the hormones,
He behaves inappropriately right away if there's too much going on. Yes.
right.
So
So
he'll
all of that
curse or
just
he'll say something or then it's absolutely
and so
highly
every
sensitive.
kid,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so every kid needs a different level of coaching. If they're highly sensitive and it doesn't take much because they don't want to experience the stress of the change, then usually they're pretty coachable. But then you've got kids who are highly active or they're more dominant in their personality types, because personality plays a role too,
Yeah.
right? And that in and of itself will kind of give the parents feedback as to how assertive, how do I start to negotiate that role with my kids. So also with that sensory thing and being more sensitive to feedback and the pushing and pulling of the boundaries comes the mood swings, comes increased rates of depression and aggression, and that's because they've got this like battle going on in their brains, right? Like, I just want, need, versus, oh, I should think about this first. I should think before I say something, versus I'm going to say this. So they've got this like internal kind of fight going on in between them.
Got it.
Yeah.
And just to ask, how does it work when you are a mom and your teenagers know you're a teen life coach? Does it make it any easier?
It's so hard. So we have a rule. When I had the dance studio, the rule was I need mom or I need dance teacher. So then I knew I had to put on whichever hat. So now we've just like migrated that to this business. So when they need coaching, I am literally sending them out to other coaches because my job is to be mom first. However,
Got it.
it
Got
is
it.
hard. I get into that role, or I've seen 8 clients that day, and then we have our little scuffle in the kitchen while we're trying to cook dinner or whatever. And, they will very quickly hold me accountable and say, listen, mom, don't need the coach right now. Can you just be my mom?
That's sweet.
But that was our agreement, right? That was me respecting their boundary and them also, educating me about their process at the same time.
Got it. And by the way, let's just point out best form in all forms of contact, if you don't mind.
Of course, the website is www.myteenlifecoach.com, and you can always give us a call at 770-235-8202.
Perfect. Stand by. We have a caller coming in. Hi, welcome to the show. You are live on the line. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Sandy.
Hi, Sandy. Liezel here. She's a teen life coach, and I'm assuming you have a question for her about something related to a teen.
Yes. It's actually my son. He's been getting into like a lot of trouble in school, and he got into a fight, and in the school he had fought back this kid who hit him first, and he's facing expulsion right now. But I'm like really concerned that his life is going to change dramatically, like him being home now. But I think he needs like a third party to talk with. And I feel like he isn't really like open with me because I feel like he's going through a lot, especially since like my mom had passed. Have you ever worked with troubled teens before?
Hi, Sandy. Thank you so much for that question. Let me ask you, how old is your son?
He's 17.
He's 17. So did he just finish senior year or junior year?
He's finished. He's trying to finish senior year this year.
Okay, got it. So, all right. Yes, I have worked with troubled teens. Sandy, there's a continuum when it comes to working with teenagers, and I don't know the background or how your son has been through his school experience, but let me maybe just explain this to you. If you were to imagine a strong line, like a horizontal line in front of you right now, and on the left side of the line is a -10, and in the middle of the line is a 0, and on the extreme right side of the line is a +10. There's the -10 to 0 means that individual probably needs therapy. So if there was trauma in his past, if there are wounds or triggers that has consistently gotten him into these types of situations because he's unable to self-regulate his emotions, he might need to go into a therapy type of session. But if he has had a pretty normal childhood, he was able to have good friends, but maybe he changed schools and he didn't surround himself with what we call pro-social friends, friends that are like-minded with him, then you could pair him with a coach, a teen coach, and what we'll do is we'll actually work with him to build pro-social skills on what type of people do you want to surround yourself with, why would they trigger you, what can you do differently to not be triggered the next time, and just try to understand what it is about that environment that makes him hot, And so from a parent perspective, one of the things I would ask you to think about is he coaching material? In other words, he is, a well-functioning, good kid who's pretty good at school, and he's been consistent, and he's been in a stable home environment. That's a good candidate for coaching. But if there has been a troubled past for him, if he's had extreme trauma, then he would be a good candidate for therapy.
Oh, okay. So do you do like grief coaching as well, or is it more just
we do? We do coaching. So
I think a lot starts with that, because I think it was when I lost my mom that he acts the way he acts now. So I don't think it's like something in the past or something. I just think it's really like grief. So I just wanted to deal with that as well.
Yeah, so you would probably start with grief counseling, Sandy, and then once he has gone through healing through that trauma, that traumatic experience, then he would be a good candidate to come for teen coaching.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Thank you so much.
Of course. I'm so glad to have helped you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much for the call. 631-317-1291. If you have any questions, 631-317-1291. And would you mind just sharing the website and best form of contact for you?
Yes, www.myteenlifecoach.com. And my name is Liezel, and the phone number is 770-235-8202.
Perfect. So where do we leave off? I forgot when the caller called, but that's a great thing.
Actually, yeah, Sandy was actually a great segue into the next thing that we can talk about, because pro-social behavior for teenagers is so important. I'm not even going to talk about the tragedy that happened yesterday, but I really think it is critical for parents. The teenager needs to have a good relationship with at least one adult in their lives to be able to have a good influence in terms of how they build their people and their peer groups around them. And here's why I say that. They are actively seeking their own identity and sense of self. This is their jobs as teenagers, because when they get to that 20 and 30 years age, their brain is going to be ready to know who and what they want to be. So this teen period is what makes it so difficult for them, because they really are trying to find, who are my people? Who clicks with me? Who doesn't? And so from that perspective, understanding your values, what's important to them, what's not negotiable for them when it comes to making good friends, and then having a community around that kid to help them be influenced, both ways. They're a good influence and they're being influenced the right way. And it's these friends that are going to help form their identity as they grow older, up until into their 20s. They want less to do with family and they want more to do with friends. They want less to do with chores and tradition, so to speak, and they want to try new things and have fun, right? Fun in teenage years is exactly the same thing as when they were toddlers and they were playing with their favorite toy. But now it's about meeting people, going out there and having the confidence to surround yourself with the right people. When you do that, you have less likelihood to then put yourself in situations where your executive functioning can kind of move forward to that frontal part of the brain, and you're not just impulsively reacting to what feels good at the time. It might feel good to go out with certain kids at this time because it's a little bit dangerous and it's a little bit exciting, but they might be operating from a desert brain perspective and not really thinking forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's tougher when they are teenagers if they didn't have it growing up as elementary or junior school kids. So I always advise parents, the sooner you can get them into pro-social type of circles of friends so that they can learn what their values are going to be, what they want them to be, and then carry it forward is better for them.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And let me ask you, when you do your sessions, clearly I know the parents, we have a call coming in, stand by. Hi, welcome to the show. You are live on the line with Liezel Lane. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Judy.
Hi, Judy. Please ask any questions you may have for our teen life coach.
Oh, okay. My question is, my daughter's going into her senior year and she's very anxious and she still doesn't know what she wants to do with her life as a career. Do you have any suggestions how I can help her?
Oh, I love that question, Judy. Perfect question. No, she's not supposed to know what she's going to do. She doesn't have that in her brain yet. So don't put pressure on her, okay?
Okay.
What I want to say is there's a very small percentage of kids who absolutely know what they want to do so early on. It's not a common thing. And that is why when she goes into college, take a broader range of subjects, all the things that she's passionate about, that she loves, that she's interested, that makes her excited, and encourage her to get involved with clubs and many different social experiences, because it's through those things that she'll figure out what she wants to do. So she can have a directional, a general direction of where she wants to go to, but she does not have to absolutely know like 100%. most kids changing their majors, 4 to 6 times before they're graduating. So flexibility is good. Letting her find joy in what she's studying is good, no matter what that subject is, because what we don't want is for them to get to the end of college and have like a sour taste in their mouth of, oh, I wish I didn't do it that way, kind of thing, right? So unless a teenager absolutely knows, like, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be this, no matter what, they're going to start down that pathway, it does not matter. Let her take a good balance between science subjects and art subjects, or and have lots of good clubs and whatever her interests are, and let her experience it. Once she gets into her second and third year, then she's going to start to feel like she's got a direction.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much. That was very helpful.
You're super welcome.
Good. Thank you so much. And if you want to reach out to her, it's myteenlifecoach.com. That's myteenlifecoach.com. Thank you for the call. 631-317-1291. We still have another question for Liezel, and I forgot the question I was asking you. It'll pop to me eventually. But anyway, what matters is well, we just have a few minutes left in the show. So how do you want to wrap up for today, in a sense?
Yeah, I think, I think I could put an invitation out there if there are any particular things that the audience would like me to talk about as we meet on a week-to-week basis for the next few weeks. And they can email it to me at liezel.lane@myteenlifecoach.com, or you can just fill out the form on the website. And then you can give me a list of things you'd want me to talk about, because I can talk about all kinds of things. But I think my tip for the week for families would be, try not to judge your teen this week, and but help them practice discernment in terms of the decisions that they're making. And then next week we can talk about what parenting is like. We can talk about academic and career coaching, and we also have group coaching for resilience coaching coming up this summer. Yeah, so there is a group that's going to be meeting, and I'll be putting that up on the website pretty soon. So that will be a good summer activity to get the kids ramped up for fall again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And by the way, are you on social media? Or is that just for teens?
Yes.
No.
I'm on social media. You could just type in my name and everything will come up.
And by the way, it's spelled Liezel Lane. And by the way, speaking of social media, something I like to touch upon maybe in our upcoming podcast, because is there too much of that? Or that's just the norm now for them? Are they able to focus and do social media and do this and still, and it's just our old brains that don't understand how, okay, because clearly kids are still doing well, but it is a concern to a lot of parents. I think that's a good question for next week. Is that okay if we talk about that too?
I will put it on the list.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Liezel Lane, myteenlifecoach.com. Have a great day. And all of our listeners the same. We'll see you soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.